Welcome to A2Council Update, a recap of the Ann Arbor City Council meeting on December 4th, 2023. This meeting included comments and discussion about bringing a resolution for a ceasefire in Gaza, restricting the use of leaf blowers in the city, rezoning and a site plan for the former Sears store at Briarwood, amending a site plan for the Lockwood development on Ellsworth, eliminating developer premiums for affordable housing downtown, and increasing setback requirements for the Transit Corridor zoning district. This is the voting chart for the council meeting on December 4th, 2023. There were 2 split votes, both on amendments to the ordinance regulating leaf blowers. All agenda items were approved unanimously. Councilmember Lynn Song was absent. This was her 8th absence since taking office in 2020. You can find this voting chart and more information about this meeting at A2Council.com. Like and subscribe if you would like to see more content like this. The meeting included a presentation from Stephanie Carter, Chair of the Independent Community Police Oversight Commission.
Your Independent Community Police Oversight Commission had a panel to interview the candidates for our new police chief. We did interview all 4 of the candidates. We also want to let you know that 4 of our commissioners, in an effort to continue to educate ourselves, recently attended the annual conference of NACO. You may have heard of that. That is the National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement. We're catching up on our complaint review process, and at our last meeting, we did finalize documents that we're going to be using for review and reporting out.
After introductory remarks, public comments, and staff explanations, Council discussed agenda items for less than 40 minutes. 47 people signed up in advance to offer public comments. 2 people spoke to topics on the agenda. 3 people spoke about requiring electrification of all new construction. 39 people signed up to speak about a council resolution to support a ceasefire in Gaza. Before opening public comment, Mayor Taylor addressed these commenters.
The members will not today, and as I understand it, do not intend to bring a resolution of that nature.
The commenters spoke.
What happens if you don't have a ceasefire? And what happens if you don't take a stand? You're on the wrong side of history then.
The cities of Oakland, Detroit, Dearborn, and Hamtramck have endorsed permanent ceasefire resolutions, and I'm here to ask the Ann Arbor City Council to do the same. As our representatives, you can use the power we have vested in you to push the state and federal government to listen to our voices that they have so far ignored.
I call upon you to follow the footsteps of Detroit and Oakland and use your platform to denounce the gross injustice that continues every hour, minute, and second.
House Resolution 786 would leave Romy in Gaza, does not call for her release. We must call for the release of hostages. We must ensure that everybody has a fair share.
This move is not anti-Semitic. This is not a fight against Judaism. This is a fight against Zionism and imperialism.
There is no debate or discussion among accredited human rights organizations across the globe about what is being done to Palestinians. It is a war crime after war crime. It is apartheid. It is ethnic cleansing. It is genocide.
How many more people need to die before we say enough is enough? Ann Arbor needs to do better, to be better.
Council members responded.
But there are actions that we as a local government can take to address the local issues that are happening in our community, and I think that that is what this body is committed to doing.
I, too, support Congresswoman Debbie Dingell's call for a bilateral ceasefire. I also condemn Hamas and the attacks that happened in Israel. All hostages have to be released. And I call, for the release of all prisoners. We are not going to be able to create peace in the Middle East. We have this small community here that we exist in. If you've experienced discrimination, please contact the Ann Arbor Human Rights Commission. We're here for the community.
But what we are able to do is support our community members who are making every effort they can to advocate to those in government with the power to address their concerns. And that's what we're proposing to do.
Prior to the meeting, in explaining her absence, Councilmember Lynn Song posted on social media that she planned to educate people about the purview of county-level government and how it does not include foreign affairs. Councilmember Song apparently did not recall that foreign affairs were on both a Washtenaw County agenda and reported to Ann Arbor City Council quite recently. 8 months ago, the Ann Arbor City Council agenda included a communication from the Washtenaw County Commission regarding U.S. foreign policy on Cuba. A resolution approved by the Washtenaw County Commission directed the Biden administration and Congress to lift a trade embargo and improve diplomatic relations with Cuba. The County Commission approved that resolution and met with the American diplomat to Cuba. The county resolution was sent to Ann Arbor City government with a letter specifically urging City Council and other local governments to approve similar legislation. In April, Superior Township did exactly that. The consent agenda this week included 7 items and expenditures of over $6.5 million. One item on the consent agenda was pulled for a vote, but not discussed. City Council unanimously approved a revision to early voting center policies. In 2024, all early voting center locations will be available to all voters citywide. Council then considered an amendment to a site plan for the Lockwood development on Ellsworth. This development was mistakenly built several feet into required setbacks, too close to adjacent neighbors and too close to Ellsworth. Residents spoke at a public hearing.
But I don't think this should just go by with a nod. I think we should recognize that we expect certain things.
After a brief introduction, the amendment was approved unanimously. Council then considered final approval for amendments to the Uniform Development Code that will remove premiums for downtown development. Those premiums required the building of affordable housing units or contributions to the Affordable Housing Fund in order to build taller and larger buildings downtown. At a public hearing, residents weighed in.
The idea here is to remove premiums as well for affordable housing, for sustainability, because they haven't been effective, and just grant the extra height because that will improve affordability by adding supply to the city housing stock. Right now, the code specifies that you can go an extra 30% higher above the aforementioned limits if you meet certain standards for affordable housing and sustainability. What we need to do is change the definition so that it's in alignment with our A2 climate plan, and this additional 30% exception, height exception, should only be granted if the building is fully electrified and provides affordable housing both.
The premiums haven't worked.
These premiums have produced 0 units of affordable housing since being passed in 2019. They're not working.
Council discussed it for about 5 minutes. Liaison to the Planning Commission, Lisa Dish, spoke.
Thanks to the voters of Ann Arbor who approved an affordable housing millage in 2022, every new development in this city pays property tax, a portion of which goes into the Affordable Housing Fund.
Councilmember Erica Briggs explained.
It's pretty clear that over and over again we're hearing from staff, from the consultants, from Planning Commission, this just wasn't working.
Councilmember Briggs served on the Planning Commission when these premiums were discussed and recommended in 2019. A recording of that discussion no longer exists, but the meeting minutes confirm that development interests, both out of town and local, opposed the policy even before it was implemented. Developers requested that the policy not apply to projects already submitted to the system. Council voted unanimously to remove the premiums. Council then considered final approval for an amendment to building setback requirements in the Transit Corridor Zoning District. This amendment would create a minimum setback of 18 feet and a maximum setback of 28 feet, as measured from the street curb. At a public hearing, residents offered feedback.
I first heard of this idea of using the curb rather than the public right-of-way from a developer. And I thought, whoa, that's really strange. The curb is a humanly constructed piece of concrete. And as we know, curbs can move. So how can we possibly use a curb for determining the buildable area of a lot, other than if we're doing a giveaway to developers? I mean, it is just a crazy idea. And I just want to say that this amendment has nothing to do with safety, and it's exploiting the term.
I do have my own problem with this change, which is simply that it's a waste of time, and we should have been rezoning everything to TC-1 much faster.
Council discussed the amendment for less than 5 minutes.
There is broad agreement on the Planning Commission about the value of and need to provide capacious sidewalks and amenities like street trees, bus shelters, and bike racks on TC-1 corridors.
You know, we're really trying to think about what these spaces should look like in the future as we build dense development along them. Right now, a lot of these corridors are fast-moving traffic, not a lot of amenities, sort of catered around the automobile, which we have said over and over again that we don't want to do with these.
Corridors at State and Eisenhower and West Stadium are currently zoned Transit Corridor District. Mayoral appointees on the Planning Commission have also approved rezoning areas at Washtenaw and Plymouth Road to Transit Corridor Districts. Council voted unanimously to approve the new building setbacks for the Transit Corridor Zoning District. Council then considered final approval of a rezoning for redevelopment of the former Sears at Briarwood Mall. Residents offered feedback in a public hearing.
But the developer told Planning Commission in October that DTE could not guarantee enough capacity to serve a 100% electric building. And I ask you, Council, to please address this overall capacity issue now, before we have more cases like this, where DTE forces developers to build with gas in direct violation of our city's A2 climate plan.
After a brief introduction, Council approved the rezoning unanimously. Residents spoke again in a public hearing for the site plan associated with the redevelopment at Briarwood Mall.
I just really, really sincerely hope that this capacity issue down there has been resolved.
The developer is proposing to take a section of Briarwood Circle and make it 4 lanes. Why 4 lanes? The city recently passed a resolution stating a policy that we should not have multi-lane roads.
The proposed development will demolish the former Sears department store. A new development will include a 4-story residential complex with 354 housing units, a 2-level grocery and retail, adjacent athletic field, plus a 4-level parking garage with 301 spaces. 8-foot sidewalks and 5-foot bike lanes with painted buffers will be added to the ring road of Briarwood Circle. Council discussed the site plan for less than 5 minutes.
And the housing, I want to emphasize this because it's important, will be of diverse sizes, which means that it will offer diverse price points. There will be 73 studios, 173 one-bedrooms, 96 two-bedrooms, and 12 three-bedrooms.
The site plan was approved unanimously. Council then considered a new ordinance regulating the use of leaf blowers. This ordinance was introduced and postponed at the council meeting on November 20th. This week, a substitute version was accepted by friendly amendment. This alternate version reduced the fine for violations from $500 to $100 and extended the permitted hours of weekend use by 1 hour. Council discussed the ordinance for about 20 minutes. An amendment was proposed that would delay implementation of the ordinance by 1 year until 2025.
A lot of Ann Arbor residents use their leaf blowers to clear grass clippings from driveways, roadways, and public sidewalks. After caring for their lawns, an immediate summer ban is likely not going to incentivize my neighbor or these small-time entrepreneurs to spend money to replace working equipment with new electric equipment immediately.
I'm unclear why people need to use gas leaf blowers in the summer when they're not moving leaves. I know that electric leaf blowers are cheaper for residents, but at a commercial level, the technology doesn't exist yet and they are more expensive.
In a split vote, the proposed amendment to delay implementation until 2025 was defeated. Another amendment was proposed to remove language restricting the use of leaf blowers by time of day.
If this passes as is, we would be creating a separate class for noise violation for which our residents could be ticketed up to $500 specifically and only for leaf blowers, including the use of quieter electric models.
I do want to take issue with the idea that a snow blower or a gas lawnmower is the same decibel output as a gas leaf blower, because those two things are not equal.
In a split vote, Council approved the amendment eliminating the restriction on hours of use. The ordinance, as amended, was approved unanimously at first reading. At a future meeting, the ordinance will be the subject of a public hearing and final approval at second reading. After a brief introduction, Council unanimously approved their own appointments to boards, commissions, and committees for 2024. Finally, Council considered a resolution directing the city administrator to develop educational materials about the leaf blower ordinance and organize a method by which collected fines can support the bulk buy purchase of electric lawn equipment for low-income residents. Council discussed it for about 3 minutes.
We do group buy for solar program. It's been very successful at getting residents able to get solar panels on their houses at deep discount. So I'm really excited about applying this to something else.
Several public commenters who had signed up in advance and waited over 3 hours spoke at the end of the meeting.
I'm here to call for an end to the genocidal, barbaric, bombing of children and civilians funded by our tax dollars.
Mayor Taylor, you have said that it is not in your interest or in our board's potential future to do such a thing. I believe that it is within Ann Arbor's mission of being an environmentally friendly leader, of being a leader in justice, diversity, equity, inclusion, for without these resolutions, the words that we say ring hollow.
And I've spoken with one council member who said that the council does not have a direct impact on foreign policy. I think all of us understand that. The point of these resolutions is to have indirect impact on our elected politicians. So it's very much within our jurisdiction.
The meeting adjourned before 10:30 p.m. For more details about this meeting, visit A2Council.com.
Welcome to this week's A2Council Moment of Zen.
I'll deviate very briefly from the recitation of the rules with respect to council comment general time, which, although I will get to them in a moment, to say briefly this. Without knowing, I suspect as a result of looking on social media that some members of the community are here under the impression that council members are indeed bringing forward a resolution. That impression is and has been mistaken. The members will not today, and as I understand it, do not intend to bring a resolution of that nature.